Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and we've let Don take one more little, mini vacation
before his next vacation.
Well, before school starts for the kids. It's almost fall.
Yeah,
Fall's
right.
sneaking
That's
up on
true.
us.
It's coming.
So we have in his stead our very own Wes Bryan, a friend of the show, been here many times. Wes, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me back.
And you played fantastically on Password last week. We did the game show.
This guy.
I found out that when you actually give words that people can understand, it works out. Because boy, you shouldn't have. If you would have seen the dry run that we did, the trial.
That was a mess.
Man.
Wow, I couldn't come up with.
Wes was taking the dry run like it was serious, like our kids were on the line.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
Like, our kids will die unless you get these right. And he's like,
I'm sweating.
what kind of crazy words are they giving us? Like, I think they mean us to not get it right.
Yeah, we want to see how the game looks.
Yeah.
It was fun though. Yeah. Joking aside, we had a good time.
That's on the ITPro TV YouTube channel, so make sure to check that out. And we're also joined by Daniel Lowry, who was the big winner of the show, I believe, right?
Well, I think Wes was the big winner.
Wes was the overall winner. You were the
Wes
team
was the
winner.
overall winner.
Gotcha.
He won both
both
rounds.
times. Yeah.
I only won when I was with Wes.
Yeah. In Wes's defense, I mean, he was just against Ronnie and Adam. So
Honestly, I think Wes and I are probably the dream team.
yeah.
Yeah, you
When
know
it
what?
comes to
You're
because
on the
I
same
said
wavelength.
default. That was my
What was that, Gateway?
Gateway
Yeah,
was the
default
password, and I just said default, and he goes
Gateway.
gateway.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Perfect.
Well, I love how it said combined certifications 205, and I'm like, well, I got one of those
Yeah, that's-
certifications. Adam's got the other
204.
204.
yeah.
All right. Well, we've got a lot of news to get to this week. Don, even on his vacation, curated these stories personally. So some really good ones. A lot of Microsoft-focused stuff, but some other news in here as well. So let's go ahead and jump in with our first one. It comes to us from tomshardware.com. Microsoft now sells Windows 11 licenses directly to PC DIYers. And so it says here previously you would have had to buy Windows 10, install it, and then do an upgrade. So, I mean, this has been a long time coming.
Honestly, the technical way to install Windows is to pirate it from somewhere.
Sure.
So I don't know why they're putting price tags on these.
That's
things.
weird. Yeah, I didn't know
It's
you.
Very strange.
People pay for this?
Yeah. Don't do that, by the way. That's not cool.
I thought that was a feature in Windows,
That's
just that
called
little
stealing.
text in the corner that says this is not a genuine copy.
Yeah.
Isn't that just?
That's how I knew it was a genuine copy.
Yeah. So, I mean, Windows 11's been out since this is last October. So,
Yeah.
why do you think this took so long?
I think they probably wanted to wait for reception on it. You know, we've had some pretty bad Microsoft operating systems in the past, and Windows 10 seemed to be recognized and, received really well. So I think that probably had something to do with it. Let's see how the public likes it before we offer it to you.
Let's hedge our bets.
That's right.
Well, no one's going to
this
like it if
Windows-
they can't install
yeah,
it.
I mean, we'll just roll it back. If nobody likes this Windows 11 thing, we'll just...
Do you think it was a deal at all with the manufacturers to say, hey, if you want this new awesome Windows, you've got to buy a new computer?
It's a good question. Like, honestly, anything we say is going to be speculation without having some
Well, that's
sort of
what we're here for.
insight. So don't take this as the gospel of Paul out there, everybody. But, think of how large an organization Microsoft is and how many missteps they've made in the past. So maybe there's some truth to what Wes is saying about, Vista was a thing. It was something we had to...
that was a
Millennium
horrible thing.
Edition.
We
that
had
was
to
a
suffer
thing.
through
Yeah.
these things, and they may not have wanted to put all their chips in the middle at that time.
But you
Who
can
knows?
you could still go out and buy 10, right? Or no? Does
Yeah,
that
you
just
can
mean,
buy 10. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, if you were to build a PC right now, Wes, what are you putting on there?
I'm gonna
for
put
Windows?
I'm going to put Windows 11 on there.
11.
And I just do that because I want the newest operating system. Now, had you asked me that when Vista or Windows 8 came out, I would have said, I'm just waiting.
You said I'd still say 11.
I'd say 11 when it comes
I'm
out.
waiting. I'm
Talk
waiting
to
to
me in
10 years.
We'll see.
We've never heard of this. Windows
to
11.
me, it's just Windows 11. Windows 11 is just Windows 10 with a new set of paint. Now, don't get me wrong. There are some new features that are kind of cool in it as well. But as far as and I'm not a programmer, I don't look at the code, but functionality-wise, it's really similar to Windows 10.
Wes and I were messing around with Windows 11 today, and it gave us an error. This version of Windows 10 doesn't support that. And we're like,
not in Windows 10.
Yeah.
I
Well,
see
it's a
what you've
it's a
done
good,
there.
you know, they're just letting me know that in Windows 10 that's not supported. You know, They
Someone
didn't say
doing the
anything about
find and
Windows
replace
11.
forgot one.
That's the copy pasta right there. Yeah.
That's just all they did is Control F 10 replaced with 11.
Oh, crap.
New version.
Yeah. New version.
Oh, new wallpaper. Put it add a new wallpaper.
You
Perfect.
joke about that, but I've actually modified INF files that were looking for a specific version of Windows, and it said, this is not supported. So you open the text file and you put the supported version in there and save the file, and when it goes back, it's like, oh, you're running the supported version of the operating system. Thank you.
Nailed it.
They're doing great checks out there.
That's funny. Well, it says the download prices for Home and Pro are $139 and $199 respectively. So, yeah, if you're building a PC, go ahead and get the latest and greatest, or
You know
at least
what
the
I wish
latest.
They would do? I wish they would make like a very streamlined, fast version of Windows. And maybe they do, and I just don't know about it. But I would love like a minimalist.
Well, it's almost like the RT one that
distro.
they did when they did the first ARM Surface.
Kind of, but RT was based, you know, like
there
you
was
said,
no
it was
multitasking,
ARM,
right?
Well, it was ARM
It's
architecture.
ARM architecture,
so
it's very specific.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
eliminated the you know, pretty much the entirety of the entire business business market when you do that.
Here's a fun little fact. I have two laptops at home. One is like a 2015 MacBook Pro, and I have a Lenovo Flex 5, right? And one is running Windows 10 and one is running Mac OS. And even though my Flex 5 is like it's a 10th gen i5, and it runs a whole lot slower than that Mac. Right? On certain things. Just certain things it goes bogged down.
Yeah.
And that Mac
Like
is running so much
7-year-old
faster.
Mac,
Right.
yeah.
It's running so much faster. Even though like the CPU utilization is better, I don't see the delay and the lag that I do in even though it's showing my CPU isn't being as taxed as much as the Mac is. I would love to understand those benchmarks. I'm not really into hardware a whole lot, but so maybe Wes and I will like have some fun with it one day, just kind of do some benchmarking. But
Well, didn't we talk about? I feel like there was a story a while back where Windows was creating basically like a Chrome OS competitor, and then they just kind
Yeah,
of
that's
scrapped
right.
that. So I think they were probably trying that.
yeah, I mean, I would love to see that because there's so much stuff that runs Windows based, but I don't need all the stuff that Windows kind of gets bottled in and kind of bloats the operating
Yes,
system, makes
lots
it
of
run
bloat.
slow and inefficiently. And you know, I shouldn't have to upgrade my PC because we've upgraded operating systems.
It says Windows 11 SE is a Chrome competitor.
That's right. I remember that.
But
now.
didn't that die?
I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't use Microsoft for that.
If it didn't, we're
I
calling
do,
it now.
right? I sit here and say, "You Daniel, you just said you had a Windows laptop." I do, but I don't like use it.
It's not your
I use
daily
it for
driver.
like one specific thing because
It's your
Windows-
honeypot.
right? That's how I know where the attacks are.
Yeah. Oh, it's happening. Yeah.
Yeah, you just throw that low hanging fruit out on your
Windows
network.
machine's smoking again. They're in. All right, well, let's move on to our next one. Speaking of things smoking and on fire, TheVerge.com brings us the next one. Google Cloud and Oracle servers suffering cooling breakdowns during UK heat wave. And temperatures in the UK reached a high of 104, and that's the Fahrenheit measurement, because if that was Celsius, they'd all be dead. But we heard about infrastructure things last week of like runways cracking and things that they're just not made for that kind of temperature. But I'm surprised by, because if there's one place that has AC, it's the server farm, even over there where it's cool a lot of the times. But
That's what
just could
gets
not
me,
keep up.
because we've talked about it. Anybody that lives in Florida, we deal with the heat, and let's face it, as a nationally, if there's a heat wave up north, there's a lot of people that just can't deal with it because they don't have central heating air, they don't have wall units. But I'm like you, this is a data center.
Yeah, it's not
anyone's ready.
It's not your mom's flat.
Yeah, there's a one window AC unit in the Google Cloud.
We got
data
$500
center.
million of rack and stack behind us. Maybe we should probably have an AC to help keep the cooling.
Typically, we open the door. There's
So
get a cross breeze.
I assume they have air conditioning because I don't care where in the world you set these things. They're going to heat up enough so that you're going to have to condition the room,
Yeah.
atmospherically, so humidity and all that stuff.
No, that's how they heat the rest of the country.
Right. But what they probably didn't do was have sufficient heating and air for those servers. So once the temperature outside became so hot that it became difficult to lower the temperature inside to a sufficient in the data center.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the problem. They did not expect it to ever get that high. So they were like, well, we don't want to spend that much money.
Yeah, we don't need those two extra air handlers.
Right.
Yeah. Well, my guess is also potentially the power grid, because they had that happen in Texas when
goes offline.
they said, you've got AC, but please turn them off because we only have so much energy. I mean, probably same thing happening there. People running out buying ACs that the grid's not used to it, and things are shutting down.
What's interesting though is like they say it was because this seems to be like a feedback loop, because I was reading the end of the article. They said this is climate change, and as the world heats up, right? Now things are hotter, so they did not prepare for that. But they're running these massive data centers which use tons of energy.
Yeah.
Right? Just like to your point, like, hey, you're using a lot of AC. It's
kind of
taxing
your fault.
the grid.
Yeah.
We got like this feedback. Well, we gotta cool these things down. But we're going to use a lot of energy to do it.
That'd be cool if they could harness the heat and then save it for like how's your house heated? Cold? No, there's the Google farm.
Doesn't Google claim to have like zero carbon emissions or whatever?
They do.
Yeah, I know they've got tons
Carbon
of solar on those things and stuff too.
So they need a couple more panels out there and they're good to go.
Or maybe pop one of these centers over in Greenland.
Yeah.
Well, they've been doing test runs with submerged data centers.
Ones. That
right?
stuff's so
Remember
cool.
those?
Oh yeah, those are super cool.
So
Exactly.
In more ways than one.
Yeah, talk about water cooling or liquid cooled. Yeah.
And when it
just
comes
use
to
that
overheating, it's one of those things that once it gets ahead of you, you can't.
It's over.
Yeah, exactly. And
You see that temperature ticking up in the server room going, it's going to happen.
It's not. I mean, it's easier. It's probably easier to maintain it than it is to try to get it back down to a stable operational temperature. But I'm sure they're thinking about it now because Dan, I know you've worked in enterprise level organizations. If you have to start shutting servers down, it's a bad day at the office.
Oh
I don't
man,
even
they
care.
do not like that.
I was going to say, I don't care what your reason is. If that server goes offline, something's wrong, and they're probably losing more money than what they would have if they would have just implemented some kind of backup system.
Well, I have a feeling you'll see investment in the next.
Oh yeah.
Over the next winter time before next summer, they're going to have.
And that's cool. You know what though? It's like it's weird problems like this that actually kind of push innovation, right? Because you're like, okay, right? We want to be carbon neutral, but we also need that energy. How do we solve this issue? And it's these weird like stresses in life that really gets us to think outside the box and get creative about stuff. So it actually might be a good impetus to seeing new forms of like powering these things that are useful.
They should take those underwater server
Capsules,
things, and then have you seen those power stations that use like the waves, the motion of the ocean,
and the jet stream too? They'll like spin like a turbine.
Yes, that would be awesome. Yeah. Your server farm just spinning underwater, producing its own power,
That's right, producing its own power,
heating the ocean.
Yeah,
that's what we need.
Stupid ocean.
Yeah, because I want when I catch the fish, it already be cooked.
It's already cooked.
Yeah,
Nothing like your data center being like a drummer from the '80s video where they're all spinning around and stuff.
I'm thinking of Tommy Lee with the vertical. You're like, why is he putting on a harness? Where's this man
Their
going?
new song, Google.
That's how they powered the concert.
That's
from
right.
him spinning around.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over now to a fun security one from arstechnica.com. Hard-coded password in Confluence apps has been leaked on Twitter. So is it like a shortcut to hard code this password, or is it just stupidity? Like what? Why is this hard coded and not something that can be changed?
Minor oversight.
Yeah.
Minor oversight.
Pretty natured, it would seem. Because what do you do now? So it's hard coded, and so what happened is the password was leaked. Now everyone knows what that password is. Is there any fix to that whatsoever?
Yeah, they can
There
fix
is.
it. Yeah.
How? How do you fix it?
So instead of having the password, you put the password somewhere separate and encrypted, and you would have to decrypt it. And then you get what I'm saying? Kind of like
think so,
you
yeah.
bring it in a safe way, and it never actually. So the problem with hard-coded credits is you can just read them. They're just right there, right? So if I put that in there and you look at the files and there they are. I was actually looking at some firmware the other day and was like bouncing around their Etsy area because it's like a little Linux distribution. And I'm like, oh, what is all these .pem files? Oh, okay, that's their certs.
Oops.
That is hard-coded credentials into that firmware.
Yeah.
They don't expect anybody to ever see it. That's the problem. That's usually what ends up happening. Well, no one's going to see this, so it's not a big deal, right? And it does make my life a whole lot easier. So that's why you kind of see hard-coded creds. No matter how many times we say, don't hard-code creds, you got to remember, you probably got somebody over your shoulder going, done is better than perfect. Get it out. Let's
we don't
go.
care about clean code. We need to deliver.
Right. So if your CI/CD pipeline is not all about secure software development lifecycle, then that stuff is going to make its way out into the real, and you're going to run into Atlassian getting their butt kicked by having what was a really good idea, which was, hey, if we put this in here, then any of our support staff could, that work on this specific thing can log in, help you do the things they need to do because they have a back door.
Yeah.
And no one knows it's there until they do. And then you got a problem. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And one of their apps was creating a default account that had the hard-coded password in there. And I love the name, Disabled System User.
Yeah. Instead of some sort of algorithm that like generated a unique password for that user, the problem is like your support staff would then not know what that password is because it's unique and it was generated at the runtime. Right. So you'd be like, I don't know what that is. You'd have to create some mechanism that would then look at. You start to see the problem is it's like you're trying to give control to somebody on the down low.
Yeah.
Right. And it has to be something they know. Otherwise, you know it. And then you can pass those secrets out. Because once that secret is available, then everybody knows it and people start exploiting it.
And that could be one of the difficulties of having like managed service accounts, right?
Right.
Because there's still going to be some kind of password generation, and whether it's the system doing it or not. And sometimes those type of accounts can just fly under the radar.
Right.
For years.
And that's why typically like some sort of remote viewing software is used for support. Right. So, hey, go to my PC or whatever you're going to use, and we're going to connect together. You're going to allow this. This is a secure connection. And then this is a one-time thing. It's not like I now have, forever use over your computer where this thing was. This thing did do that and allowed me to do anything I wanted in your system, at least as far as I was reading. And Wes, I know you kind of thoroughly went through that article. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. It basically gave you a user on that system with remote connectivity, and you could do anything you needed to do so that you could support that user.
Yeah, there's a group by default in the software, and it was called Confluence User Group. And when you would install the application, it would automatically create accounts or an account within that group called Disabled System User. And any of the permissions or the data that was viewable by that group automatically got viewed by this disabled system account or disabled user system account. And they would have access to anything else that the Confluence User Group had access to.
There you go.
And this is a good article, too, because it has instructions on how you can go in and see that on your system and to see if anyone has attempted to. Yeah, which is
definitely
cool. But, I mean, regardless of if someone has or hasn't, are there steps you should be taking now? Are we waiting for a patch or...
Well, they got some CVEs that are, and I know this right in your realm there, Dan, that have been publicly disclosed. 2022, what is it, 26136, and then 2022-26137, and they're documented as far as what it contains and the steps that you need to take. Because one of the things that's different about this one I read is that uninstalling the app that created the account doesn't.
The account's still there
The
because
account stays
it's a
behind.
system
Yeah,
account. It's not
exactly.
like a user account in the software itself. It creates a system account. So an easy way to fix this is to either delete or disable that account and change the password to it.
Well, that's stupid.
Yeah, that's dumb as hell. But that would be a really quick and dirty, like just Etsy password that sucker and go, oh yeah, there it is. And just disable that or change the password to it.
Okay, I just realized you're not saying Etsy like
No,
the
we're not
store
an
where
online
I
No,
site.
not
buy.
the store. ETC.
Okay.
/ETC.
Yeah, when you said it before, I was like,
Yeah.
you were browsing around somebody's Etsy profile? That just doesn't sound like you. So I'm looking for some needlepoint.
Yeah, so I need a embroidered purse.
Isn't that a cookie tin?
Yeah,
That's where all
I
that
need
stuff
some
is.
leather
Yeah.
earrings.
It sounds like the best way to deal with this one is a hammer. Just a hammer to the machine, and no one's getting in.
Done. Which is funny because, like, if really ultimately all it does, now that I'm thinking about it, all it does is create a user account with a password that the support staff knows. If you're at that level of user where you're like installing these pretty advanced pieces of
Yeah.
software. I'm pretty sure you know how to like create a user account and say, yeah, log in.
It's good. Yeah, you're good enough to know at that point that this is not the right way
Like,
to do it.
I don't need you to give me this account. I'll just create you one, and then I'll disable it when you're done helping me. And I know all about it, and it's very unique to us in
Yeah.
our instance.
This is not a home use kind of product where that would be an issue.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Well, speaking of patches and in this case, no patch, our next article comes to us from tomshardware.com. 32-bit Linux won't get patched for the latest Intel vulnerabilities. So now is a great time to switch to 64-bit. Are they saying that it won't get patched right away or for now, or hey, we're not supporting this anymore? Move on.
They've pretty much stopped supporting patch management for 32-bit Linux
Altogether.
Yeah.
You know.
Double birds.
Yep.
Penguins. Yeah.
Which is another thing that we talk about all the time, is about running things like legacy systems and embedded systems that are running those old 32-bit
That you can't
operating
update.
systems. Yeah, and you can't update them.
Yeah. That's where, like, that's why the IoT market is so like, oh no, bad things are happening because we used an embedded system like your heart pump or whatever, and now some hacker's in there and he's playing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star with your defibrillator. That seems bad.
It is.
Because the embedded system is some 32-bit, busy box Linux or whatever that they have access to.
Yeah.
But ultimately, in this day and age, if you're using 32-bit for production systems, that's probably wrong.
Then you deserve to die. Is what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying
Daniel's
that you
words.
deserve to die.
Oh, okay. I thought.
Let's not go that far.
Drago there.
But
If he dies,
it's
he
not.
dies.
It's not a great idea. Yeah, right. I saw Stallone talking about him one time. He's like, "This man walks into my casting and he's got this hair that looks like a lawnmower, and he's huge." And I'm like, "Yeah, he was a specimen of a dude."
Yeah.
Plus, he's a genius, certified
Yeah.
genius.
I heard that. Yeah, he's got
Speaks a whole
advanced
bunch of
degrees.
languages.
Yeah,
does.
5-7 languages. He's in Mensa. He was like a backup to the Olympic team for decathletes.
So
or
he
whatever.
could he could probably write some patches for
Who knows? Probably.
32-bit
Yeah.
Linux. So
Ivan Drago.
yeah, exactly. So I guess so the issue in question here is was it called Red Bleed? Is that the new?
Yeah,
Intel?
it's an. You have to help me out with this one. I think it's an offshoot of
Like
Spectre.
Heartbleed or
Spectre.
Spectre. Meltdown and
Yeah,
Spectre. Okay.
yeah. So and it's affecting AMD.
One of the worst James Bond films.
Was it Gen 1 or not? Excuse me, Gen 1, Zen 1, Zen 1 Plus, and Zen second generation, as well as Intel Gen 6 through 8 processors. So
Yeah. So I
Which
guess
is funny because it's like, why are you using 32-bit architecture? Like 64-bit's been out for how long now?
long time.
Like at this point, it just doesn't seem. I
But
mean,
you're
I'm
right.
sure
It's got to be
there's-
specific use
There's
cases.
always edge cases
Yeah.
for everything. So don't get me wrong and say, well, no, Daniel, if Bob, if
Yeah,
this
but if
were
you've
happening,
got a company that's got like a couple $1 million invested into a 32-bit application, and they want to get some ROI on it,
Yeah.
and it might make sense for them to run it,
Yeah.
right? But you deal with the
like,
risk.
did you just start this? I
Just
mean, have you
double
been
it and you have
working on this
64.
thing for 20 years.
Yes. Yes.
It's Control C, Control V. You've got a second one. That's 64. That's
Easy.
by my math. You're all set. All right. Well, if you are running on any of those processors and you've got a 32-bit, think about either changing some hardware or changing some software there because
Hardware. It's a hardware.
to go to hardware.
Change your hardware, then you don't have to worry about that software.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Let's do it. But make sure the software runs on your.
You make sure it's patched up. Well, it's already been patched up in the 64-bit Linux kernel. So
there you go.
they've already done their due diligence on that side. They've
good
said
reason to
years
upgrade.
ago that they're or what the last year or sometime they weren't going to do anything else with 32-bit.
But would a reason be that is there software out there that exists that still only has or supports a 32-bit version? Like maybe that's why hey we want to upgrade to 64, but this is a business use case we have for this piece of software that isn't available yet.
A lot of times, the business use case is the fact that they've spent a lot of money and they don't want to spend more.
That's
Yeah. but that's not a good.
It's not a good reason, you know.
And ultimately, like the
stop using it.
the money they don't spend on upgrading tends to come back and bite them.
Yeah, it's the money you'll spend on the ransom.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
All
The
of a
money
sudden
that
they're
just
like, why didn't we do this? I'm like, really? You want me to bring the memos out, Bob? Because
I brought this up.
yeah,
Yes.
I believe I've mentioned this.
Let's show you the Technado episode from July of 2022. All right, well, let's take a quick break. We've got a couple more stories to get to, a couple more Windows, Microsoft things. So if you're in that world especially, you'll want to check this out. Coming up right after this break on Technado with Don Pizzette.
My name is Dana Morrison. I'm the IT director at Grace Christian School in Raleigh, North Carolina. I work with two technicians, Buddha and Anthony. We cover all grades at the school. We figure that we support approximately 800 end-user devices.
My name is Buddha Nepal. I work as IT support here and AV specialist. I moved into IT department and on our first meeting, other team members asked me, hey, what's your IT background? And I was like, I don't have any. We had this SharePoint project that we were rolling out. So I was able to go to IT Pro TV and watch. And by the end of this month, we were actually migrating all our files to SharePoint.
I can use IT Pro TV's supervisor portal to check the progress of my technicians so I can see what they're looking at. So when we were doing SharePoint training, I can go in and I can see that Buddha is hitting on that content.
I really want to see hands-on how they do things, and if there was an IT Pro TV, I don't know how I would have done that.
IT Pro TV has given us the ability to level up our technicians to a point where they can decide this is important for me to learn and go out and learn it.
At home, I have Apple TV, and there is an app there, and so I actually watch on Apple TV. I watch it in my iPad too.
Saturday mornings, I still get up early, 6:30, I go grab a cup of coffee, I sit down on the couch, and I typically watch 2 or 3 episodes as I just kind of increase my own learning skill set. I would recommend IT Pro TV to any IT team that is looking to extend their knowledge. It offers a great, easy to access, interactive, entertaining environment. It's just a great tool for any IT professional.
IT pros who want to learn on the go? The IT Pro TV Android app is for you. Now it's better than ever with the dashboard view built in. Easily resume viewing, see new courses as they're added, and track your hours viewed. Start up your next episode with the touch of a button to binge watch on the go. Track your progress at a glance, and download episodes as an annual member for offline viewing. Access all IT Pro TV courses with a simple button. Choose landscape mode for larger viewing. Choose your course by category, certification, or job role. Watch anywhere and pick up later on your favorite devices. So head to the App Store and download the IT Pro TV app.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Daniel over there enjoying the fake popcorn. We've had some comments of the other week on YouTube was like, how's Daniel not or resisting the urge to eat that popcorn that's always sitting there?
Here's how. You ready? Here's how.
Oh yeah, I want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That's
the sound
actually
of it.
Bounce.
That's actually his tooth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've joked that when that fake popcorn came in, we're like, that looks like a big bag of teeth we just bought.
It does.
And it turns out it was.
With cavities.
With existing cavities. All right, well, in this next segment, we're going to look back at some news that we have covered before in the segment Deja News.
Deja
News.
All right, this one comes to us from TechCrunch.com. Microsoft will block Office macros by default starting July 27th.
No one cares.
Which was yesterday. And what's interesting about that is we had that exact same headline before. Microsoft will start blocking
because
macros,
they
but it was a
unblocked
different
blocking.
date. Yeah, and so I'm confused because I read through the article real quick, and it was like we did it, and then we were like, oh, there was some user feedback. But do we have any information on what that feedback
Bill
was?
Gates was like, "What the hell is wrong with my macros?"
Yeah, I mean, did they not give people enough warning or something? Was there an issue where they were breaking things?
No, apparently they got feedback from enterprises that utilize those heavily.
Okay.
Why, I don't know.
That I guess
My malware is
they need
running
more
around.
time.
Yeah.
They got all
I've
these
got full
messages from-
functionality of my operating system, and I own my data.
The APT groups in the world that contacted Microsoft. Well, listen, we have spent hours.
North Korea is
on
like, yeah,
these
we've used
macros,
Microsoft for
and
years.
these suckers just aren't running anymore. I mean, we got to do something about this.
So I guess if
Crippling entire economies.
we're toppling government.
Yeah.
If you have some sort of business use case that relies on macros, you've got to go and like do a group policy something to turn this setting off. Then
It seems like they could configure everything with GPOs. I don't know why they couldn't configure portions of the Office suite like that. If it's something you need, just turn it back on.
because you can turn this off. I mean, this is now it's off by default, but you can turn it on. Whereas before it was on by default and you could turn it off.
Yes.
It's like a light switch.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Wes, but I think that this has been a cat and mouse game they have played for many years.
Yeah, it's
right.
Yeah.
Once the Office Suite came out and all these cool macros you could run inside of these things became like a well-known thing, virus writers, malware writers started taking advantage of that fact, and then they said, "Whoa, this is a real problem," so shut it off by default, and then we saw macro viruses kind of go down.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because it wasn't running by default, and it was harder to get people with it.
But then for some reason turned back on.
Well, they said, "Man, macro viruses really aren't a problem anymore. Turn it on by default." And then guess what? Macro viruses started rising
Almost overnight.
Yeah, it's weird how that works. And then they went, "What the hell is going on? Turn them off!" And back and forth and back and forth.
So they specifically call these Visual Basic applications or VBA macros. Is that the same thing? I mean, because I've heard macros forever, but I've never heard it called that.
VBA
Is that just a longer way
the
of saying
language
it?
that they use to write the macro?
So the same things you'd have in Excel when you're running a macro or something like that.
I can make some VBA code that when you create a macro inside of your Word document or your Excel spreadsheet, it runs it like code. Right, because it is code. It just goes, oh, it's just like these little snippets of code. They're so nice and sweet, and they do this cool little thing. And so, since I have that code and it's willing to run said code, I can then say, hey, while you're doing whatever, also run some PowerShell or run this, C# stuff and have a good time with that. I don't know if it'll run compile code, but it'll. I mean, you can run inline C# in Windows. On the command line, there is a capability of doing that. But typically, it's just PowerShell me up. And with that PowerShell, I can create network sockets. I can grab files. I can do all sorts of crazy stuff. And now it's downloading like your second stage and connecting to C2 and doing all sorts of horrible stuff and creating users and backgrounding all this stuff and obfuscating and hiding. And all because you allowed a macro.
See, I've written a macro that automatically turns off macros if they're on. It's like that thing where have you seen that little box where you flip a switch and an alarm comes out, turns it back on? Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
Nothing box or whatever.
It's the Inception macro.
Exactly.
Yeah. Gotcha.
It's a macro within a macro.
What do you think? I mean,
Did you really do that? Did you write that? No, that would be cool.
The hell would I know how to do that?
I mean, you could look stuff
Where would
like
I
that.
start?
Google it.
Yeah, I guess I'd go. But I should have said yes. Damn it.
that was me.
All right. Well, if you're relying on macros for anything and you were so happy that functionality came back by default, it's gone now.
Does anybody here use macros? Like,
I don't.
In that way?
No. I mean, I've done things in Excel before where I've, created one based on something just to run once, but never where I would need it, like, to run by default.
Yeah, the only table I pivot is the table that the computer's on when I'm trying to run Excel.
The table that the pizza's on.
The whole thing.
I feel like, that meme where like it's Steve Carell from The Office and he's getting like an award, and the meme is, was the only person to pass the phishing campaign with flying colors, and it's like
because didn't check his email,
doesn't open email ever. I'm kind of that person when it comes to the Office suite. I don't really use it. I never have. I know I don't know hardly anything about Excel.
Yeah.
Word, I know I can put a picture in there and a graph or something, but I don't really use it.
Well, I know, Daniel, that IT Pro TV has courses in Excel.
They do.
So check those out. Ronnie and I actually did one way back when in the For Dummies series.
Did you really?
I think that was like 2016
Oh
Excel.
yeah,
but
that's back in the day.
high quality
I forgot we had
pivot
done that.
table stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
That was on Amazon Prime, actually, of all things. So you could go watch, you know, your Marvelous Miss Maisel and then Ronnie and I.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
funny
it's
when
gone
you can Amazon search your own name.
Yeah.
you come
Like,
up.
oh, man, look at that idiot.
What's happening?
Well, sticking with Deja news, we've got another one here from ZDNet, also about Microsoft. Windows 11 is getting a new security setting to block ransomware attacks. Microsoft releases a new default policy to thwart credential attacks, which is also heading to Windows 10 because, as we mentioned earlier today, a lot of people still using that. So what do we know about these ransomware attacks and how we're stopping them?
That's a lie. It's nothing. It's nothing new.
It's nothing new. That's
not-
why
it's
this is
not-
Deja.
It's really not. Yeah.
It's not a single thing that's new. It's been built into the Windows operating system and controlled either through local policy or group policy in Active Directory domains. And what it is, it's an account policy. So, we have complexity rules that are pushed out during, in enterprises. You have to have a strong password, so many characters, how long before you have to change it, how many days do you have to use it, right? All of that stuff we've probably, if you're, coming from an enterprise environment, you've been confronted with at least once or twice. Well, in those same settings, there's something known as an account lockout threshold. And just by default, it's not turned on. So the new security feature is we turn the
Turning
light
it
switch on.
Yeah.
It's new.
You like that?
Well, that's stupid.
That's a great title there, isn't it?
Yeah, 'cause
New
I'm
security feature.
I'm looking at this article, and it's got, there's a quote from this guy, the vice president of OS security and enterprise. So clearly,
yeah.
it's got to be new. No,
So this is when a marketer gets a hold of things.
not bad.
Yeah. See,
We ruin everything.
be the change you want to see in the world, there, Peter.
Yeah, these are settings that are essentially in group policy objects, whether they're the local policy, a standalone machine that's not in an Active Directory domain, or you can configure it through group policy objects in an Active Directory domain. But like we've been mentioning, it's just turned off by default. And now they decided, hey, we're going to go ahead and we'll turn that on, which, it does make sense from a business perspective, but...
Well, I've gone ahead and written a macro to turn it back off.
There we go. There we go.
So
Yeah.
it should be
Yeah,
set.
because that's the way it's got to be. Well, we had some fun with this little thing, kind of like
Yes.
sparked up an interesting conversation between Wes and I today, where we were like, well, Windows 11's doing a bunch of weird stuff. Like you can't when you install Windows 11
Home. Yep.
right? You have to have a Microsoft account. There is no we got around that really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, it doesn't affect Windows 11 Home because group policy is not even available for Windows 11 Home, and you're going to be logging in anyways with a Microsoft account, so it's going to be through the cloud.
Yeah.
So
It was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Windows.
Interesting.
fun.
Yeah.
Sounds like a blog post. Right.
That's what I told him.
Mm-hmm.
Making
Coming
a,
soon. Now we've said it.
Yeah.
You're on the hook now.
Good luck with that.
Back to the marketing team, screwing
That's right.
things up for you.
I think the intent behind it's great, but to call it something new, it's a little misleading.
So I've changed the headline to Windows 11
Old
pushes
feature.
button. Yeah.
That's right. Turns the light switch on.
Yeah. Good for
Flip
them.
switch.
Yeah, but the Switch does something, so that's good. So
Something that's been there for.
I still think. I'll tell you what, though. I'm sitting here joking around about it, and Dan and I were talking about this as well when we were, having fun with Windows 11 Home. Is that I didn't realize? Maybe you can talk about this because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff in the web. Is that still the main bread and butter for ransomware attacks? Is RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, session endpoints that are out there where people can connect to them. I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this will help alleviate some of that because there is password policy that is now turned on by default, not turned off by default. It just boggles my mind that you would have an Active Directory and RDP and all this other stuff, this high level things that really take some knowledge and thought to even just get going well.
Yeah.
And they would not do any kind of security like, hey, you know what we should do is if I don't log into this thing correctly, 6 times or so, it locks me out for 30 minutes.
Sure, session timeouts, right?
This is a part of password policy.
Yeah.
I mean, is there a reason why this wouldn't have been on by default before, or just oversight? Okay.
So here's another thing.
Some people have like it's kind of a philosophical, like how many attempts is all right? How long should I lock you out for?
Yeah.
Should I unlock you at all? Or
Yeah,
do you
I
should
love
have to
those
call a help desk?
images of like toddlers that have locked their parents' iPads for like years.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened to one. It happened to one of the iPads I had. My youngest sure did. I had to go through the whole Apple account and to get back into it. But
that's when you bury it in the backyard like a time capsule.
Has all my Bitcoin on it.
Bring this one back in 5 years.
But if you think about it, kind of building off what you were saying, Dan, think about. I know when I come in on Monday morning and I type a password, it takes me 6 or 7 times just to get that password right. And if I haven't had my coffee, it could be a lot more. So I could denial a service myself. On Monday, coming in and logging the
That's a
if it's too
feature,
strict.
actually.
Yes.
A little more weekend for you. See, I've done that where, like, on my normal keyboard, I have, like, it's the muscle memory of certain passwords, like, and then I do shift that. And then when I'll get on a mobile one where I'm not like this, but I'm using my thumbs, it's like, oh, wait, do I shift on that one, or do I?
Plus, it's so easy to fat finger something on a touchpad. So,
And for home users, it doesn't really affect them. And let me be specific when I say this. It doesn't affect them directly if they're using Windows 11 Home because of the way you log into that type of machine, unless you do like Dan and I did and you bypass it. But if you're running the Windows 11 Pro, it does affect you because you do have the security policies that'll be turned on by default. And I can see somebody that if they've been using Windows for a very long time, just from an end user standpoint, all of a sudden now they're not really sure why they're actually locked out of their machines. That could potentially cause problems for people.
Yeah. Or maybe the hackers are the ones disappointed at home going, I used to be able to get into this. How did I?
Yeah. Why is this no longer my thing? Well, there's always credential stuffing and password spraying techniques that just get still very, very useful.
Yeah.
Well, if you're being like targeted by somebody like a real APT or whatever, then they're gonna see that Wes, Monday morning after lunch, those are good times to like throw passwords at the system because
it looks like normal traffic.
Right. It bleeds into the noise.
Yeah.
Right. It happens. So Wes might come back from lunch, try to log in and get like a lockout and be like, that's weird. He's just going to call us help desk. Right. Yeah. He might not think nothing of it at that point in time, I fat fingered my password a couple of times.
Now you know Monday morning's the time to hack Wes.
Yep.
After lunch. Or after lunch. I come back skunk drunk.
Sure. Because there's barbecue sauce on his fingers and he's slipping all over the keyboard.
Yeah, he's licking the keyboard.
But that's a security feature as well because no one wants to touch his.
No, man, no.
It's toxic.
It is nasty. Ants and everything.
Just like a
just a light over the keyboard shows you which barbecue stains have the most, or the keys have the most barbecue stains.
That's smart. That's smart.
Valley Forge.
Feel for them sticky keys.
That's right.
All right, want to let you know about a couple of webinars that are coming up here over at IT Pro TV. First, we have Thursday, August 4th, How to Get into IT. It's a Q&A with Don Pizzette. So you can head over to itpro.tv/webinars and register for that one. Then we've got another one, All Things Cybersecurity, with our own Daniel Lowry and Ben Fink. And
again?
Those have been, you're going to keep doing those. Apparently, it looks like we're still doing that.
Yeah.
See what happens when you do it right?
I mean, we do those things, and we've got, 35 questions at least coming in, hundreds of viewers, and this last week, people getting a little teed off that we weren't getting to their questions. We're like, look,
we have unlimited time.
Yeah.
I don't know how you all kept up with the questions.
Oh my God,
those chat boxes were moving.
Yeah. We had people going, I don't think you've queued my question. I'm like, sir, I've queued your question. It is coming up. So that's always fun, but those ones are good. That's Thursday, August 18th. So check that out. And if you missed any of the last ones and you want to check them out, head over to itpro.tv/webinars where you can see the full archive of the on-demand ones as well, because we save them all for you, because we know it might be different time zone where you are. Or
You never know.
Or you fell asleep at work. It happens. Or you were locked out because Someone tried your password many, many times, and it didn't work. Also, yeah, Wes. Also, want to. That's right after lunch. That's our problem.
That's right.
Also, want to let you head over to technado.com and see all the past episodes. Check out the swag store. Meet the team that works behind the scenes here, and you can also hit the big orange button up at the corner that says "Sponsored by IT Pro TV," and you can get 30% off of your personal subscription to IT Pro TV. You can also request a team trial and find out all the great features available to teams, like the Pro Portal. That's from IT Pro TV as well. So check that out, technado.com. Also send us some mail. Tell us what we said wrong this episode, or what we said right, or
Don't worry, you don't have to
anything.
tell people to tell us what we said.
Or,
We'll know.
or
Yeah.
you know,
They'll tell us.
or try to DDoS us.
Don't do that.
What's it called when you just bomb an email or account, like email bombs or
Spam?
something?
Oh, a mail bomb?
Something like that. Yeah. Try that. Do we have capture on there? No. Okay. I don't know what I'm saying. All right. Well, thank you, all of you. Well, thank you, Wes, as well, for joining
absolutely.
us this
It's
week.
fun.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll see if we can convince Don to go on vacation again, because we're a lot
just,
smoother.
give
I
it
thought you said he died.
Give it a couple days.
I said we're not sure.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, it could be a deep fake. I need to see him in this chair
Fake.
and take a DNA sample.
Wes is just like assuming the Don Pizzette, like he's
Yeah.
taking his name.
That'd be-
I'm Don Bryan. Now I'm Don P. Bryan.
Like in the Marvel universe, you just rip the face
Yeah.
off and it's
Yeah.
down underneath.
Don
Mission
Bryan.
Impossible. Those
Yeah,
masks
there
are
we go.
amazing.
There
Those
we go.
guys use. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us, and we'll see you next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.